The Department of Public Health and Human Services is pleased to bring you Aging Horizons. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, fraud, legal issues, veterans benefits, and caregiving. Aging Horizons is a program dedicated to inform and prepare Montanans on these timely issues, making a difference to you and your loved ones. Here now is today's program host.
Hi folks, welcome to another great edition of Aging Horizons. On today's show, we'll be talking about Montana winters, particularly about your car in Montana winters. What you need to know, what you need to do in order to be safe. You know, we never know how our winters are going to turn out. Sometimes they're mild, sometimes they're wild. But if you do this every year, you will certainly survive it, so stay tuned.
Did you just text me?
I didn't want to disturb you if you were sleeping.
Sleeping? I'm sitting right next to you, silly.
There you are. Hey, I found a couple of Medicare helping programs online that I think we ought to look into.
It says if we qualify, we can get help paying for our prescription drugs. Oh, and there's a program that can help pay our Part B premium.
To learn more about extra help and Medicare savings programs, call your local SHIP counselor today.
Maybe I better text him.
I was outside working on some equipment, nothing too strenuous. I started sweating and feeling out of breath.
When he felt pressure in his chest and aching in his arms, I knew we had to call 911.
First responders were there before we knew it. 38 minutes later, the doctors had restored the blood flow to my heart.
Now we know dialing 911 saved his life.
Your life is on the line.
This message sponsored by Mission Lifeline Montana.
Elder abuse is a growing problem, and it's happening right here in our Montana communities. At least 1 in 10 older adults are victims of physical or emotional abuse, financial exploitation, or neglect. To get help or report elder abuse, call your local area agency on aging or Adult Protective Services at 1-844-277-9300.
Sometimes the difference between having the life-saving medications you need and going without is the premium on your Medicare drug insurance. If you are a Montana resident enrolled in the Medicare prescription drug program, you may be eligible to receive help with your premiums, even if you own your home or other assets or think you may have too much income. Call or visit the Big Sky RX website today to find out if you qualify.
There you go, ma'am. See you next month.
Thank you.
Hi folks, welcome to another great show of Aging Horizons, brought to you by the Department of Public Health and Human Services. I'm your host, Brian Lamore, and as I mentioned earlier, we're talking about winter in Montana and how important it is to be ready for it. You don't want to be out on the road, stuck somewhere and thinking, what did they say on Aging Horizons? So we brought in an excellent guest today. We have Mike Anderson with us. You're a loss prevention specialist with the Department of Admin. Welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Thank you, Brian. I really appreciate the opportunity to come on your show and to share some knowledge with the people of Montana.
Yep. And, you know, I learned so much from these shows from people like you, and I've had an emergency preparedness kit for a very long time in my car, but it's good to review it and update it prior to winter coming. But let's talk about Montana winters and how we can prepare for the winters before the winters. What are some of the things you'd like our viewers to know?
Well, for those of us that live here, we know that Montana winters are brutal. That's just a fact of life. And so we need to be prepared for that. The best defense of all is don't drive if you don't have to, right? Don't get into a storm if you don't need to. Okay? We'll talk a little bit more about that later. But one of the big things is pre-winter maintenance for your vehicle. Get it to a shop or do it yourself, but check the tires, check the battery, change the oils, check all the fluids, make sure all the heater, everything is working properly so that as we go into winter, it doesn't become a problem. Because you never want to work on a car when it's 20 below, right?
Been there, done that.
Batteries is probably one of the biggest things because they are so temperature sensitive. So get your battery checked. now while it's still warm out, and if it needs to be replaced, get it replaced. That way you won't have any problems and come out in the morning and your vehicle not starting. Yeah.
And you know, they're age sensitive too. How long is a battery really useful in a Montana winter?
You know, it depends on the battery itself.
Yeah.
Some batteries I've seen last 8-9 years. Some batteries I've seen last 2 years.
Yeah.
So it kind of depends where you get them, what the quality is when you got it. They also have different sizes of batteries, different what they call cranking amps. And so a small car with a small engine only needs a small battery. A big truck with a diesel engine, actually they have 2 batteries, but they're bigger in size.
Yeah.
And so...
Actually, I just replaced my battery after 2 years, like you're saying. But I'm ready for winter. But you know, winter tires are really important too. What are some of the considerations for tires to stay inflated and to actually give you traction?
Well, you cannot look at a tire and see that it's properly inflated. You can see that it's flat, but you can't see that it's properly inflated. There is a door sticker or a sticker on your vehicle by the door, by the driver's door, that will tell you what the proper inflation should be for that vehicle or for the tires. Some of the other things, there are 3 different types of tires. There are summer tires, there are all-season tires, and then there are winter tires. And the winter tires, a lot of people don't use them yet, but those that do really like them. They're made out of a different type of rubber. A standard tire at 45 degrees and below, the rubber gets very hard, and so you lose traction. They make a winter tire that the rubber stays supple below 45 degrees, and so then you get better traction. Another thing you can do to a winter tire is you can sipe it, which means you cut the top tread edges. Each one of those cuts gives you additional traction on ice. You know, I recommend if you do buy winter tires that you also buy another set of wheels. The reason I recommend that, and I know that's expensive, the reason I recommend that is because you're changing them out in the spring and the fall. And if you have to go to the shop, to a tire shop, and have them actually dismounted and remounted, it gets very expensive. And so within just 2 or 3 years probably, buying a set of wheels has paid for itself.
Paid for itself because you're not wearing them out.
Yeah.
Well, now, being a former state employee, I remember driving down to a board meeting in Billings, and it was icy all the way.
All the way.
From Helena. I was white-knuckling it the whole time. I got there, and majority of the board members didn't go there because it was the winter conditions were too bad.
Right, they were on the phone, right?
Yeah. So what do you think about, saying no? The road conditions are too bad, whether it's on the weekend you're at home or whether you've planned a trip for your job?
I will tell you this. In state government, and I think in private industry, it's more acceptable. Safety is more acceptable now than it used to be. If you've got a good reason, if it's snowing and you don't think it's safe to get out on the highway, tell your boss that. And the reality is he or she will probably say, why don't you just call? Don't put yourself out there because it's just not worth it. And
some of the first snows or the real heavy snows, it's a good idea just to stay home if you don't have to go out, right?
It is. Even if you're a good driver, not everybody else is. Not everybody else is. And so you have to consider that, because a lot of people tell me, oh, I'm a good driver. And I believe that. But there are thousands of people out there that are not good drivers.
They're not good drivers. And, the plows may not have gotten out yet.
That's true.
The road conditions may be a little too tough for you.
Yeah, that's right. So this year we had that early storm.
Yes.
If you recall, back in September. I don't even know that MDT was completely ready with the plows at that time. So that could have been an issue.
Could have been an issue. Well, unfortunately, we're drawing to a close on this first segment so quickly. I always learn from these shows, and I love it because I want to be prepared. I put together some preparedness kits that I keep in both my cars just in case. And, it's not just a winter thing. You can use those things in the summer too. We'll have a lot more great information. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
When I stopped showing up, Jim showed up at my door. He took me to the hospital in town to get me help. That's the day Jim saved my life.
Everyone has a role to play in preventing suicide. Know the signs and don't be afraid to speak up. If someone you know is in crisis or emotional distress, the only wrong thing to say is nothing at all. Call 800-273-TALK or text MT to 741-741.
Questions about Medicare and other types of insurance? Contact the State Health Insurance Assistance Program office to get answers to questions like, what is the difference between Medicare and Medicaid? And how do you decide if you need Medicare supplemental insurance? This insurance counseling program is not a sales program. It is available to provide answers to your insurance questions. For more information, call the State Health Insurance Assistance Program office at 1-800-332-2272.
I have so many questions about power of attorney.
Well, some powers of attorney are for finances and others are for healthcare decisions.
A power of attorney designates an agent who would make decisions on your behalf.
While making a power of attorney, you have the ability to control your agent's power.
You also have the ability to decide when that POA would take effect.
Wait, am I giving away all my rights?
Power of attorney isn't a license to make any decision for you, just those that you've specified.
Your agent should be somebody that's working in your best interest, but it should also be somebody that you would trust.
What if they try to abuse their power?
Protective measures like third-party accounting, secondary signatures, defined spending and gifting limits can help protect against financial exploitation. An agent's powers can always be limited by a customized power of attorney, and they can be revoked by you or the court if the power of attorney is abused.
So carefully drafted estate planning documents can help ensure that your finances are monitored, but not abused.
If you or someone you know is being exploited, please report to Aging Services Bureau at 844-277-9300 or the Legal Service Developer at 1-800-332-2272. This message sponsored by the DPHHS Aging Service Bureau.
Welcome back to Aging Horizons. I'm your host, Brian Lamore. We're continuing our discussion about being prepared in the winter for Montana winters in your vehicle and maybe making the decision to drive, not drive. But now, Mike, you know, winter's coming up and our car can be a lifesaver if we prepare correctly. What are some of the things we want to consider about having in our vehicle in case a bad thing does happen to us?
Okay. Again, the first thing I want to say, if you don't need to go, don't
go.
But we all know that sometimes we have to go.
Yes.
And so my point is be prepared. Mm-hmm. Some of the things you should always have in your car. First aid kit. This is a fairly modest kit. You can get these at any of the box stores fairly cheap. Mm-hmm. I made up, this is like a mechanic's kit. Mm-hmm. It's got a few things in it. This is a warning light, also works as a flashlight. A warning, it's got a magnet on the back. Mm-hmm. I got jumper cables in here. Mm-hmm. We just talked about the bad batteries.
Yeah.
Maybe you get out somewhere and your battery goes dead.
Yeah.
Good thing to have with you.
Or someone else's battery's dead.
Or somebody else's battery's dead, absolutely. Some of the other things I have in here is just another small flashlight. I like going with the LED lights because the batteries last so long, and they put out really good light.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And test them each year for batteries.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I threw together some basic tools. Mm-hmm. These you get at the box stores. They're cheap. Well, I shouldn't say cheap. They're inexpensive.
Yes.
These are not the quality of tool that I would use in my shop,
right.
But they don't need to be.
Yeah.
They don't need to be. So I have a variety of screwdrivers. I've got a couple sets of pliers, mm-hmm. The channel lock, the traditional plier. I've got an adjustable wrench. Mm-hmm. One other thing I have in here, I threw this kit together. This is a bungee cord, roll of wire, and a roll of black tape.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What can I do with that?
Yeah, so much. Do a lot.
You can do a lot. Yes. I grew up in Montana. I can build a rocket with this.
Yeah.
Right? It's amazing to me, with just a few basic tools, what you can do out in the field to get your car back on the road and back to a safe area.
Mm-hmm. How they make a difference.
And I got to tell you, I got, $25 maybe into this. Uh-huh. And it's just things, that you should have with you.
With you. I also see a first aid kit, and being a former ski patrolman, a good first aid kit is really, really handy.
It really is, and you should carry that year-round. That's not a winter thing. And honestly, the toolkit itself is not really a winter thing. That should be in your car also.
Yeah.
One thing that I do is I carry all of this in this large tote. That way I can move it from car to car to car.
Yeah.
And even if I'm taking a state car, I just grab this and throw it in the state car.
That's a good point.
So,
well, now, what do you do to stay warm in a vehicle? You know, because winter's here, maybe the engine's, you know, gone away. That's an important thing in our winters.
This is my survival kit.
Ah, yes.
Now, it may just look like a paint can, but it's my survival kit. And so let me show you what I have in here. Probably the most important thing is a candle.
Yeah.
This particular candle will last about 2 days. It will give you light, it'll give you heat. You got a built-in hot plate, right?
Well, now, is that a standard candle or is that a special long burning
standard candle? Something you'd buy at a box store or a 5 and dime. And so nothing special at all about it.
Okay.
I've got a box of matches in here. I've got, these are the chemical hand warmers that you can activate, and they will give you 4 or 5 hours of heat.
Yeah.
Okay, you can buy those by the box.
Yeah.
Another important thing is I have some food in here.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the main thing with these is change them out once in a while.
Use them up hiking.
Yeah, right. I've got a Montana map. I've got another very small first aid kit, but this also comes with the orange marker.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one that says call the police. You put it on your windshield.
Yes.
Well, that's not going to work in a blizzard.
Yeah.
But you can hang it from your antenna.
Yeah.
The whole idea is to get somebody else's attention.
Right.
So that they might stop and help you. I got just a couple of rolls of tape in here, and then the can itself.
Ah.
This is probably the most important part of the kit.
Really?
I can use this as a shovel.
Yeah.
If I don't have another shovel. But probably more importantly, I can go out and scoop up fresh snow, light my candle, and melt that snow and have fresh water.
Ah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's really good.
I mean, we can go to a couple of weeks without eating.
Yeah.
But we can't go but about 2 days without water. And so if you can melt the water, and one thing I want people to know, make sure that the water is up to room temp before you consume it.
Oh.
Because if you just melt it and it's still at 40 degrees and you consume it, you are lowering your core temp. You got to be thinking about hypothermia all the time.
Right. Yeah.
Okay? So make your water, melt your snow, and get it up to room temp.
You know, one thing that I've included in my kit is they have these space blankets that are reflective on the inside and they're bright color on the outside.
Yep.
And I use that in one of my hiking kits that I take with me. I always take a backpack and it's always full, and people are saying, why are you taking so much stuff? Just in case. Haven't needed it just in case yet. But that's a great idea to melt the water, and those are probably available at any paint store, I imagine.
Yes, absolutely.
They have empty cans and inexpensive.
And they're new. This was never filled with paint. So, yeah.
That's right.
Very inexpensive. We've got some other stuff here.
And you know, Mike, we'll probably talk about them in the next segment. And for our viewers, I know you've learned a lot already, but there's so much more. Stay tuned.
No one likes to have to ask for help. It's a courageous act.
Sarah Solomon, Energy Share Coordinator.
Our clients work hard, sometimes at 2 or even 3 jobs, but still struggle to keep the heat on. They're doing everything they can. They're proud and they don't give up. I feel inspired and honored to work together with these Montana families.
To donate, call 888-779-7589 or go to EnergyShareMT.com. EnergyShare, you can help your neighbor stay warm.
If the Aging Network in Montana was a restaurant, the sign out front would say, over 50 million meals served over the last 30 years. Since adequate nutrition is critical to health and quality of life, Nutrition services are an important factor in keeping older Montanans healthy, independent, and living in their community and home. To find out more about senior nutrition programs in your area, call 1-800-551-3191.
Here in Montana, we love our outdoor activities. Unfortunately, few of them are risk-free. Indeed, Montana is second in the nation per capita in head injuries that can destroy the lives of people we love. That's why you should insist your family always wear protective helmets. But you can do even more. When you fill out your vehicle registration this year, circle the Y and donate $1 to support traumatic brain injury prevention and education. Now that's using the old noggin.
With as many as 1 in 10 Americans at risk for Alzheimer's or some other form of dementia, chances are someone you know and love will receive that diagnosis. When that happens, you may well feel devastated, but know that you are not alone. Help is available. You don't have to face dementia by yourself. Call the free 24/7 Alzheimer's Association helpline, 800-272-3900, for guidance and support.
Hi folks, welcome back to Aging Horizons. I'm your host, Brian Lamore. We're talking about how to be prepared for Montana's winters, whether they be brutal or mild. Rejoining us is Mike Anderson he's a loss prevention specialist with admin. And you know, when we're out and traveling, we're on the highways, and the highways can have problems well beyond our community, but we might not know about it. However, the Department of Transportation has an app, right? Well, tell us about that app and why it's important.
Absolutely. Everybody has a phone,
yeah,
right? And most of those phones now are the smartphone.
Yes.
If you have a smartphone, you can go to, the Play Store or whatever,
yes,
to download apps, and you can get the MDT Travel Info app. It's free. You can load it on your phone. It really, really works well. If you have an older phone, we still have available the 511 system that you dial 511, and through a series of pushing the buttons, it will give you still information.
Yeah.
But obviously the new app is a lot better. It will locate you on a map of Montana, show you the roads around you, whether they're open, closed, slippery, wet, dry, if there's any construction, anything like that. And so, absolutely. This is not only a phone, it can also be a lifesaver. But one thing I will say, if you're taking your phone, and you should, take your charger. Take your charger with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know that app also has cameras on all the passes, and I think occasionally they have a camera inside the snowplow.
They do. They tried that. I don't know if they still are doing that or not, because they had connection problems with the internet.
Yeah.
And so obviously we got a lot of dead spots still in Montana, especially in the mountains where most of the plows are running. And so that was a great idea, but it didn't really pan out.
As we would have hoped it to. But now, you know, we talked about survival kits for your vehicle so that it's always there. But there are also certain items you should bring with you in case you have problems, which are probably left at home, like medications and other items, right?
Anytime you travel, if you're on insulin or some type of drug that you need to take on a daily basis, or maybe it's somebody, a minor that's with you, a child, take their meds. I mean, how many times have we heard that on the news, that somebody's lost and they don't have the meds they need?
Yeah.
Take them with you. Even if you think it's just going to be for a couple hours, you never know. If you get stranded, it could be a week. You know, so there are some other things that I have in my kit. I'd kind of like to go over that.
Tell us more.
Obviously, you know, I take these. These are work gloves. And the reason I take these, they don't keep me very warm, but they have a sticky palm on it. And so if I'm out changing a tire or I'm out working on the car, I can use these, and I don't care if they get wet. Because I'll get back into the car. And then I'll put on my good gloves. And these will actually keep my hands warm. I don't want to use these out changing the tire, because if I get them wet, then they're useless.
Right.
Hypothermia. Got to be thinking about that all the time. I actually have a couple of sets of gloves in here.
For company.
Yeah, right. I have a shovel This is a portable shovel, and it's made out of aluminum. They also make these out of plastic, but I don't recommend them because plastic gets brittle in the cold.
Yes.
And so you're never going to break this aluminum one. This has a handle that extends out and just gives you a nice little shovel. I have one that I carry on my backpack when I'm snowmobiling that the handle actually comes out and it's got a saw on it, so that you might saw off some tree limbs and put under your tires for traction.
Yeah, or stay warm.
Yeah.
Nice fire.
Okay, some of the other things I have in here, I carry a blanket. And this blanket is not to keep me warm. This blanket is to protect me from the environment. If I'm out changing that tire or working on the car somehow, I will put this blanket out on the snow.
Yeah.
Okay? Because like today, I'm wearing blue jeans.
Yeah.
If I get those blue jeans wet, what happens to my body temp?
Oh, it goes down.
That water, that moisture just wicks the heat right out of me. So it's very important that you stay dry while you're working on your vehicle. So I put this down as a barrier between me and the snow.
Great idea.
Okay. Another thing, this is just a very simple, it's just a shaker. I put gravel in here. When, especially early in this, in the fall, you'll get a snow and it'll melt when it hits the ground. Well, what's it like the next morning?
It's ice.
The next morning it's a skating rink.
Yeah.
So I use this, and I'll open this up, and just even before I get out of the car, I'll shake some gravel onto the ground, and then on my way into the building.
Yeah.
It's a simple idea, but it can really save a lot of injury.
And inexpensive, and kitty litter works fine in that too.
Yeah.
What about weight in the trunk? Is that important to put?
You know, a lot of people will buy the, they call them the sand tubes.
Yeah.
You can get them at the box stores. They're $3, $4. They're 40 pounds, I think, 40 or 50 pounds worth of sand.
Yeah.
And you can put them in your vehicle, and it will actually help with traction. But if you get stuck, you can cut that open and use the sand underneath your tires and get you out.
Oh yeah, and I think you have a 5-in-1 tool too.
I do.
First time I've seen that.
Yeah, I do.
Idea.
This is called a 5-in-1 tool. It can be used as a shovel. It can be used as a scraper for your windows. You can put it under your tire, and it can be used for traction. The only problem is you only move 18 inches and you're done, but then you move it another 18 inches. One of the other things is if you're changing a tire, you can put this under the tire and lift it and then push it on to the lug bolts.
Well, that's great, Mike. Well, thank you so much for bringing everything in. We're drawing to a close so quickly, unfortunately, but a lot of great ideas. And for our viewers, I bet you picked up a few. Get ready for winter. It's coming. And stay tuned.
Special thanks to the Department of Public Health and Human Services for their continued support. Hosts on Aging Horizons are program specialists at the Montana Office on Aging. Production facilities provided by Video Express Productions. For more information about Aging Horizons, call the Department of Public Health and Human Services toll-free at 800-332-2272.